Hey everyone, thanks for clicking on the video. We got a couple things to talk about today. First of all, I've got a few days worth of testing in this, the Onetigris raven nest. I've got likes and dislikes. I'm going to go over all of it. And the other thing we got to talk about is the giveaway. I've hit 500 subscribers. But before we talk about the giveaway and I show you what tent I'm going to go with for you guys, let's talk about this guy, okay? So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Oh, and it's snowing. Look at the top of the tent. First snow of the year. I'm almost 46 years old, and the first snow of the year is still fantastic and fun. Go figure. All right, so let's start with the outside of the tent. Really nothing new to report here. Something I didn't report on the first video. And yeah, by the way, there is another video, so you guys can check that out. If this is a tent that you're interested in buying, I kind of went over a lot of stuff. So in the other video, and we'll go over more here today. All right, but check this out. One thing I didn't mention is waterproof zippers. And it says that all the zippers are YKK. All right, so speaking of waterproofing, it did rain pretty much all day. What day on Sat? Doesn't matter. We had a very good rain. I can't remember what day it was. This thing was out in it, and I can say not a single drop got in it. So yeah, beautiful. So yeah, when it comes to the outside, I actually don't have a whole lot to talk about. Well, some of the stuff is inside and outside. So I will say this, and I stated it in the first video, that they claim an internal snow skirt on this. Wind skirt, rain skirt, whatever you call it. I'm not happy with it, and I'll show you why here once we get inside. And also, there's nothing along the door here. Okay? So let me show you what I'm talking about when it comes to the snow skirt. We're going to move inside here real quick. All right, so let's start talking about this snow skirt. And I don't know if I'll be able to show it, but I think you can tell that the snow skirt is taut. Okay? So as you set the tent up and as you make the tent nice and taut, of course, what they're calling a snow skirt is becoming tight with the tent. All right, so let's see if I can get it. Oh yeah, you see that gap? That's the problem, is you end up with gaps. Your traditional, here, let me turn around. Your traditional snow skirts are going to go on the outside. They're going to be 4 inches, maybe 6 inches long. And what's nice about those is they conform to the imperfections of the ground. And so when the wind blows, it's going to stop that wind better than that giant gap, which is just letting air in every time the wind blows, which, I mean, if it's windy, it'll suck the hot air right out of a tent. So that's one thing I didn't like, okay? Let me show you something that's also inside and outside that I would have liked to have. Well, you know what? I'm gonna have a wish list here. All right, so there's that. Let me show you one other thing that I didn't like. Hold on. Okay, so we're looking in the sleeping area here. Oh, and by the way, there's now a inner for this tent. So we knew that was coming. They're asking $60 for it. Okay, so here's the thing. This sleeping area is huge. However, it's angled. Obviously, this is the widest area, and then it starts to angle in. Okay, when you put your sleeping bag in here, and you are wall to wall. Not at this corner, but by the time you get up here, you are. You're literally touching the wall. which stinks. So it's not horrible. It's completely doable. I just want to state that I am 5'10", and when I laid down, if I wasn't careful, my head would be touching the top and my feet would be touching down here, or vice versa on how you lay. But I put my head up here for that setup. So I didn't show that setup, but that's what I did. So that, I mean, yeah, that's about, no, I've got one other negative. Okay, so, I'm sorry. You see that gap right there underneath the door? And of course, there's another door behind me. So here's what happened. Oh, we had the sleeping bags lined up here and over there. So they're going this way, okay? And like I said, it rained. Now the problem is, once again, for whatever reason, they didn't put a snow skirt of any kind on the doors. So the water came rolling down the outside edge, and both sides did this. And once it hit the ground, it splashed back into the tent. So now I did have a tarp laid down, and the tarp is, you know, it got all dirty, which is fine. It's a tarp. But my sleeping bags got all wet and dirty too, because it was just splashing up and hitting it. Could have all been alleviated if they just would have put a regular traditional snow skirt all the way around the tent. I don't know why they didn't put anything on the doors. It's kind of not uncommon. So, yeah. And, well, sorry, I got my little, we did run the hot tent in here. That is one of the positives for sure. Is, I can't explain it, but the heat distribution was very nice in here. Of course, when you stood up, the closer you are to the ceiling, it gets hotter. But overall, it was very nice in here. We had it going for a few hours. We played some games, and it was great. All right, I want to do a wish list now. So let's do that next. All right, so what I want to do is I want you guys to come into my mind, and I'm going to design the Raven Nest 2.0, the version of this tent that I would love Onetigris to make. So here we go. First thing, and I don't think this is going to come as a surprise to anyone, is a traditional snow skirt all the way around, trapping in that nice warm air. We will leave the windows for ventilation, and also that would help to keep that splash. It would kind of work as a splash guard against when it's raining and stuff, keeping everything inside nice and dry. This thing overall was 100% waterproof, I promise you that, but it splashes off the ground down here. So that's the first thing, snow skirt all the way around. Second thing deals with, I would probably do this on one door. All right, so first of all, sorry about that. What I would love to see is when this is being used as an awning, I would love to see some sort of wing. I call them wings. You could do whatever, you can call it whatever you want. But a wing, even if it's only halfway, going from like here down to here. So that way, when you have it in porch mode and it's raining out, that would protect the inside from getting rain in there. And I just think that would be a little bit better. So hold on, I got one other thing I'd like to show for my wish list. Okay, so when it comes to this door, in my dream design for this door, I would have fabric that goes from there over to there that's permanently attached. That would come up about 4 inches, maybe 6, probably 4 inches. Okay. And they could continue with their design here, but still have the traditional skirt on this door. But what would happen would be this would all be like built in. This door design would stay, but almost be more like a flap, okay? And then if you could envision, there would be mesh, probably sideways D-shaped, that would go like this, okay? That you could unzip and roll up onto the inside if you wanted to, but that would make this nice and open, but protect you from bugs, and you could still use this as an awning, which I love. So I want to give you a reason why I really like that setup. I have the Onetigris Solo Homestead, the TC version, and one of my favorite things to do is I leave the mesh closed, or I leave the door open, I leave the mesh closed, and I get the fire going. And believe it or not, with that mesh closed, it stays warm on the inside. And it's just a really neat feeling because you're looking outside, you're still part of the outside, but you're nice and warm because of the fire. It's a really neat feeling. And with this, you're not going to be able to achieve that because just obviously all the air is coming out. But it also make it more of a summertime tent as well if there was that mesh here. So the inners, obviously the new inner does have mesh on it, and you could do that. But so that is what I would love to see for this door. All right, let's move inside. All right, so now we're looking at the other door. It's closed. In my dream tent, this probably isn't a door, I'll be honest with you. What I would do is put a window. So I would mirror the the windows here. I would add those there as well. This would no longer be a door, okay? And stove jack, and I mentioned that in the first one, a stove jack right in the middle of this door. So that really opens this up for two people to sleep in here. One on this side, one on the side that I'm kind of kneeling in, and then you have the middle for everything. So that would be another thing I would do. Another thing I would do is up top here, okay? I would probably include some sort of netting that could attach up there. The reason is, when you use a hot tent, if you don't know this, a lot of the hot air goes up and it's all in the ceiling. And what's cool about that is if you have wet gear, you could set it up there and it would dry very quickly. So as it stands right now, you could certainly add a string to go from here to the other side and clip stuff on there as well. But like a little gear caddy or whatever you want to call it there would be really nice and really cool. All right, the last thing I would do, guys, the very last thing I would do is I would actually make this 1 foot wider. Okay, as we talked about, it starts to get a little cramped as you work your way into there, and I think that would alleviate it. This is already a big tent. It already comes in at about 10 pounds and a little bit more weight and a little bit more size probably isn't going to matter. I think the benefit of having a nicer sleeping area where you could stretch out would be very beneficial. So I think that's it for my dream tent. Yeah. All right, so I know I mentioned the giveaway. I didn't realize I was going to ramble as much as I did, but I want you guys to have a good, educated decision on whether or not you like this tent. Now, I know I just made my dream tent and I said some bad, some things that I don't like about it, but please realize this is still a very good tent. This is my favorite hot tent now, okay, out of all of them. And especially if you're using it for solo, you just have a lot of room in there. And if you had never hot tented before, I'll give you a little rundown. You end up spending a lot of time in the tent. It's winter time, it's cold, it's windy, and it gets dark at freaking 5:30. Okay, so you end up spending a lot of time in the tent, and it's nice when you have some room to set up a chair and a table and still have your sleeping area and to cook and just to hang out, maybe watch a movie and just enjoy that whatever that weird feeling is when you're in a tent and you're nice and comfortable and, you know, right on the other side of that nylon, it's pure chaos. It's a neat feeling. It brings me a lot of comfort. But all right, so I'm actually going to make another video for the giveaway. So hang tight for that. I'll show you guys because this one went too long. So I'm sorry. It'll be fairly quick after this one. So all right, guys, I'm calling this video quit. And have a good day. And it's a great tent. It really is. I would just love to see 2.0 happen. Have a good day. Bye.